25 years ago this week, the North American Free Trade Agreement took effect, opening the commercial floodgates between the United States, Mexico, and Canada. NAFTA tripled trade across North America, providing a boost to the economies of all three countries. What's less known is that it completely reshaped a different economy. Back in the 80s, most of the cocaine smuggled into the U.S. came from Colombia to Florida on planes and boats sent by Pablo Escobar and his colleagues. But throughout the 80s and early 90s, the U.S. clamped down on those drug routes through the Caribbean. That forced the Colombians to get creative. They began paying Mexican cartels, which historically trafficked in weed and heroin, to smuggle cocaine into the U.S., and weirdly, NAFTA helped. It phased out tariffs across North America, making it easier for freight trucks to cross the U.S. border. The number of trucks crossing entering from Mexico nearly doubled to more than 4 million in 2001. The U.S. Border Patrol inspected only about 10% of them. That meant millions of trucks sailing past checkpoints undisturbed. Many ferried drugs hidden amidst legal cargo and stashed in secret compartments. A decade after NAFTA, 90% of Colombian cocaine was smuggled across the southwest border. Mexico, which had always been the Walmart of marijuana and heroin, was now the FedEx of the cocaine business. NAFTA didn't just make it easier to transport drugs. By removing tariffs, the trade agreement flooded Mexico with American-subsidized corn, putting almost 2 million Mexican farmers out of work. Factories sprung up along the border, but there still weren't enough jobs to go around. Mexican unemployment increased, wages stalled, and poverty spread across Nuevo Laredo, Juarez, and other border towns. Mexican drug cartels filled the void. They contracted out-of-work farmers to grow poppies and marijuana. In borderland slums, they offered steady work, good pay, and glamour for young men willing to become foot soldiers in cartel turf wars. NAFTA's final unintended consequence came as a result of the Mexican and American governments fighting the first wave of unintended consequences. In 2008, the U.S. agreed to send billions of dollars of military aid to Mexico in the form of Black Hawk helicopters and other hardware to help fight the cartels. That security agreement fueled Mexico's militarized drug war, which, other than the occasional kingpin perp walk, has been a spectacular failure. Mexican cartels still rake in billions by smuggling the Colombians' cocaine and increasingly by manufacturing and selling deadly opioids like heroin and fentanyl. And the violence rages on. In 2017, 31,000 Mexicans were murdered, the country's highest homicide rate since 1990. In November, the US, Mexico, and Canada finally agreed to a new trade pact called the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. Congress still has to ratify it, but if it passes, the new NAFTA will look a lot like the old NAFTA. It offers a few sweeteners for American automakers, and it allows American dairy farmers more access to Canadian markets, a slight blow to Canada's so-called dairy cartel. But the USMCA does nothing to address the cartels to the south, which means all those trucks and all those drugs can just keep moving.